In the name of the Academy and the Diocese of Rottenburg-Stuttgart, in the name of Terre, hommes, and the Weltethos Institute, I would like to welcome you cordially at our conference, Alternatives to Development. I'm so happy to see you all here. My name is Heike Wagner. I'm the head of the Academy in Weingarten and the Department for International Relations. So I'm organizing talks about Africa, about Latin America, Kenya seminar, and an annual series on the topic cooperation in development in the 21st century, theory and practice in dialogue. Past years, we focused on the governmental players, development aid, and players in a civil society. And last year, finally, with the engagement and the responsibility of international enterprises in international cooperation. And maybe some of you had the idea that I was talking about international cooperation in the end. In the last conference, the question came up whether development cooperation still suits the purpose. Is it really correct to talk about development? Is our focus correct? Of course, we're talking about terms, but also about practical things, about basic things, because terms express reality and create realities at the same time. So it's quite consequent that we critically take a look at the concept of development and alternatives to development. It's about time, yes, and it's really necessary to do so. Development for a long time was a common word, which, at least in the global north, had a lot of positive connotations: prosperity, safety when it comes to economic, social, and health aspects. But at the meantime, it became clear that this only was seemingly right. It might mean prosperity, but not for everyone, not globally, and most of the time not for those that are being developed. Development to me means that for a lot of people in the South, it means we want something of what you have, like resources, raw materials, cheap labor, or something else. Something like we have your crude oil, and I have the power. So many of you that are here today, they know what I'm talking about. I have participants in Bolivia in my mind, and there are many people that take part that are from Bolivia, and that is really something that makes me happy. We have some representatives from the rainforests at the Amazonas, some indigenous people, and I would like to talk about Tipnis, the national park. So right through the heart of the Tipnis National Park, the rainforest, there should be a road, and they are building it right now. And as they put it, they say the road brings development, but the road is going straight through that forest. It's not coming close, no connection to the villages of the people that are living there. And it's just to get some goods to another place. It's just a connection road. So is that development, and can that be done on the back of those that are concerned? And is that something that justifies that some make a big profit, and in this case, even a whole ecosystem will be destroyed? So development is an expression of a certain thinking, lifestyle, and economic way of living, and it is strong all over the globe. And at the moment, we are about to destroy our planet and ourselves. So we are right in the midst of a crisis of civilization. So we need change, but not by some whites that are coming from the north and telling everyone how this works, and even driving that destructive system even further, and not because of some national elites in the countries of the global south. They get their interests, particular interests, through. And who has to change mainly? Aren't those the countries of the global north and the rich people in the north and the south hemisphere that need to change, their priorities and their lifestyle and reconsider them? Pandemic just shows us a mirror in so many ways at the moment. Corona is an expression of our way of life. The impact of the destruction of natural environments, pandemic shows us quite significantly where global injustice is, also injustice and inequality within countries, like, for instance, the vaccination that is not given to those that are at high risk, but the family of and friends of presidents first, then that is wrong. It also shows how rich countries are the fastest when it comes to the vaccination, because they have the money and they have the power. And that takes us back again. It cannot go on like that. There is something going wrong. We all agree, or many of us agree. In discussions, then there is that one moment, that difficult moment, when someone asks, well, okay, that's good, but what do you offer instead? What's the alternative? And exactly, what's the alternative? Because although critics with respect to the practice of development usually do not want to abandon that idea that all people live in peace, dignity, and justice without poverty in a healthy surrounding. So this is the topic of our conference, and I'm so happy to see so many of you here. So what do we expect today? Well, we have a very exciting program in the course of the next days. The focus is on the dialogue of theory and practice, like in the other conferences of that series, with a whole set of reflection, discussions, concepts that need to be thought out, and other voices from practice with concrete experiences and suggestions that we need to hear. And that can only be done interculturally with voices from the global south. So one motto of my work is, in order to find answers to the great questions of our time, we have to get into dialogue. And I mean, all of us. I mean, really all of us. So before I introduce the program to you briefly, I would like to ask you that you write down the name of the country that you are in at the moment, or that you are closely connected to, into the chat function right now. Well, so I'm really looking forward to see what we have in the chat. Oh, it's really fast. It's great. I see. I cannot even read that fast. Zimbabwe, Austria, Kenya, Peru, Philippines, Mozambique, Austria, Pakistan, Burkina Faso. That's really great. It's so fast. This is really shows perfectly how many we are here, and it shows all the different contexts that we are in and that are coming together here. So I'm really amazed to see all this. And I'm really looking forward to, I watched the chat really enthusiastically, and I'm so happy to hear from you in the next days, because we also introduced some interactive elements as much as possible in an interactive event. Tomorrow in the evening, there are going to be virtual work groups in which you can present your experiences and your walk of life. You can have discussions, and you can suggest criteria for a global sustainable living together. So it's important for us that you all participate and meet each other as far as possible in a virtual space. So this evening there will be an informal meeting that we offer. So you can use that chance to go from one table to the next and talk to the people sitting there. And how that exactly works will be explained later on. So let's first begin with the introductory presentation of Aram Sirai from the University of Kassel in Germany, and he will give us a basic instruction in the topic of development and what it means. Then we will have some input from young people in Germany that ask themselves, what does development mean to us? And they make quite concrete suggestions. And with that, a central concept of our conference is also mentioned already. We are giving voices to young people. We in the conference team are deeply convinced that we need to take young people serious and give them space and give them room to show their very own perspective on things. They are central players of that change. You are the central players of that change. So in each block, for the different alternatives of the South, we have people that think about these topics and do their own research, the experts on the one hand, and on the other hand, from the same context, we have a representative of youth networks. So young people can bring about change. That's what a friend told me only recently, and that's true. That's why we need to hear them, and we need to get inspired and challenged by them. So after the short input of the German people, we are going to hear Alberta Costa from Ecuador today, and that is a comment from a representative of the Global South. With that, we have which is the German evening tonight. The overall concept of our conference is reflected theory and practice in dialogue, intercultural and internationally, looking at these topics, theory and practice in dialogue. That means, in our opinion, when it comes to questions on development and development policies, also hearing a voice from politics. So tomorrow we are going to talk with Claudia Warning and talking about the global future from the perspective of the Ministry for global development here in Germany. And we also want to hear a lot of voices, a lot of people's opinions, because we do not want to circle around ourselves. That's what a lot of people do in Germany, but we want to learn from the South. And then after that, we will look at closer at 3 different alternatives we are listening to, and please pardon me if I'm wrong. Sanchip Nipane from Nepal. He's representative of the young people, and Ashish Kutari and Shrishti Bajtai from India. Excuse me if I pronounce it wrong. We are going to talk about radical democracy. So then finally we get to South Africa, where we talk about Ubuntu with Sally Matthews from the South African Rhodes University and the representative of a youth network, Tinotenda Chibindi from Zimbabwe. Then we're moving on towards west to South America. We're dealing with the concept of bienvenir with Alberto Acosta and Olenka Magallanes from Peru. And then we heard a lot of ideas which we already have discussed then. So tomorrow evening, German time, there is room for your discussions in smaller groups to exchange your experiences or comment on things. And in order to find criteria for sustainable alternatives to live together in the future. So the idea is that you will send us a short video, a statement on these criteria, or an image, a picture, or some sort of visualization. And we in the team are going to create like a short overview of all these things, what it will look like. Well, we discuss this tomorrow. On Saturday, we are going to collect solutions and practical consequences of what we discussed here. So with these very concrete ideas, we want to finish this conference. But in order to do that, we need you with your video statements or your visualizations, because that's your voice in it. And that way, some of the presenters, some of those that know their ropes will comment on these statements. And with them, we are going to talk about criteria and the practical ramifications. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm so grateful to go that way together with you. It started way back. It started in our individual contexts. All of you that are here are part of these processes. You're part because we went through these processes together with you, but also all those that have their own contexts, and you may offer some approaches that we didn't see. So we started with this idea 2 years ago. That was when Albert Recknagel from Terre approached me after one of these conferences I talked about, and he asked me, can we do a conference together? Terre that will introduce itself in a minute, has an impressive process of self-reflection that they went through, and that was that development collaboration, and they are facing these questions that we want to discuss in these 3 days to come. So when I talked about the involvement of young people before, then this is what I'm convinced of and what the whole conference team is convinced of. But at the same time, it's characteristic for the work of Terre des Hommes, and they want to support young people and children, because that's the center, the core piece of their work. So thank you very much for the great collaboration, for the great cooperation, all those that participated that are not mentioned by name. Thank you to Tuto and Werner from Terre des Hommes, and also Mr. Villhauer from the Weltethos Institute, who later joined the conference. But he's not least important, which can be seen in the fact that he's going to be one of the hosts throughout the whole conference. So thank you very much for all of you, to all of you for being here, and I'm really looking forward to this conference. Thank you, Heike. Can you hear me? Is everything okay? So thank you, Heike, for that introduction and for introducing the audience to our really exciting agenda of the following concepts. So my name is Bernd Villhauer, but in Latin America they call me Tuto. So we are really inspired by that novel, The Small Prince, from France. So this is what terre des hommes means, because we refer to that, and we want to be part of the process of building a world. So we are all working in building our own world, because we are not only a product of that world, but at the same time, we are part of changing this world. So this makes us swim against the stream of modern capitalist world economic systems that is systematic all around us, with its vicious circle of expanding profit maximization, forced to grow and to consume everything. And with the conference, we want to go deeper into looking for alternatives to the concept of development. At the same time, we are aware that that is only one component of that mega machine, which in its existence is threatening the environment on Earth, which is so generous to us. So this is exploitation of freely usable nature all around us, as it seems, and a patriarchic exploiting of women and girls in care, in the care industry. So if you point the finger at other people, and if you say that they are underdeveloped, at the same time they are pointing at themselves, and they confirm that they are developed, and at the same time there is a Euro-Atlantic white man standing there and getting caught in that trap. So that does not mean I have to annul my voice, but it's challenging me to use my voice carefully and critically, and learning to listen first. So exposing yourself means getting aware of the fact that we are having a symbolic order which is bipolar, which is hierarchic, which is separating, and which is makes people outcasts. So we are going. So what we do is that we go against that streams in everyday life. We show resistance in everyday life, and we are looking for concrete solutions as I see it for a new possible world. We is not only terre des hommes, we means human beings, young people, adults, grown-ups, adolescents, from that small
Möglichkeiten und Potenziale eines guten Zusammenlebens aller bedeuten. Als Organisation terre des hommes wollen wir bewusst Teil dieses kollektiven Wir sein und immer tiefer werden. Als Kinderrechtsorganisation arbeiten wir nicht für Kinder und Jugendliche, sondern mit ihnen zusammen. Sie sind nicht Zielgruppe, sondern selber wichtige Akteure der Veränderung. Oder wie es eine Jugendliche aus dem
players of change. So if take a look at, or just as we heard someone say, nothing on us without us. So our conference of delegates, this is what we do at Terre des Hommes. This is a process that makes you participate, and participants are not only those members of the association that are part of it, but also that do that voluntarily, and also young people that are part of the international youth networks, bringing together young people from different regions. The conference makes decisions on the strategic goals of Terre des Hommes participation, and
part of a day-to-day practice. Having this attitude of learning together and changing the world together, we are happy to be part of this conference. We like to thank the Academy of the Rottenburg-Stuttgart Diocese for this encouraging cooperation, and we're looking forward to, together with the Institute Weltethos, to work together with them. Today, we are 350 participants in an impressive international cooperation. Just this digital format makes it possible to exchange. Of course, we are well aware that considering the current pandemic context, our conference is an attempt to create new spaces for exchange in the time of pandemic, spaces where we can learn together. So we are intergenerational and international in this conference. So thank you to everyone for this great diversity in our conference. The difference in time zones, of course, is some sort of limit to this possibility, because right now in Latin America it's in the early morning, and in Asia the night is about to come. So we will have some rotativity in our conference. As you can see, we are more than 350 registered participants, but 150 are currently in our conference. But even if not everyone has the possibility to take part in every conference, it is important that we encounter each other in this conference so that we can work more closely together. Between the two big historic projects, the Litter Laura Segato as the historical project of things and historical project of relations, we take a clear position of common relationships. And we want to reinforce these relationships in this conference. A small part, but very important part, is still the international working group Alternative Development. Werner Schiffer will talk about this in a little more detail. So I'll give the floor to Werner Schiffer.
Du bist noch stumm, Werner.
So, jetzt funktioniert gut. Vielen Dank, Tuto. Und auch von meiner Seite ein herzliches Willkommen an Sie alle, wo immer Sie uns zugeschaltet sind. Wie gesagt, von Tuto schon gesagt, ich bin Werner Schiffer und Sprecher der Arbeitsgruppe Alternative Entwicklung bei Terre des Hommes. Tuto hat ja schon darauf hingewiesen, dass die Delegiertenkonferenz bei Terre des Hommes ein wichtiges internationales Beschlussorgan ist. Und diese Konferenz hat 2013 und erneut 2018 beschlossen, dass Terre des Hommes sich mit Konzepten jenseits des westlichen Entwicklungsdenkens beschäftigen soll.
This conference will think beyond Western ideas of development. So, and also what it means about for concrete project work of terre. So behind that background, concerning deep growth and post-development growth, we like to focus on vertical ecological democracy and Ubuntu. So as you might be able to imagine, we're delighted to have such experts here, young and well-experienced experts who have a lot of experience and can contribute to these debates and contribute diverse perspectives. Of course, we also concerned about the questions how the changes can be implemented. And I can talk about the Colombian anthropologist Escobar. He's a pioneer in this area. Unfortunately, he cannot take part for health reasons. Escobar refuses the idea of the US aid and World Bank development projects and development aid. He refuses these kind of aids. But a cooperation based on human rights, based on justice for everyone, and he thinks that this kind of cooperation is acceptable on a temporary basis, but Escobar has a different another perspective. He believes that a global cooperation is essential for the civilizational change. An organization that includes a diverse form of living and strives into autonomy. Networks of initiatives are necessary. They might need to be built in North and the South. And Heike Wagner and Tuto already mentioned this before, and there are examples for this as well. At the end, let me say something about terre. We are convinced that alternative development is necessary, and we want to contribute, and we're already contributing to such an international cooperation with our projects and our public relation projects. The current campaign, My Planet, My Rights, is an example of this. It's for justice, and is working with the UN Children's Rights Convention. But we don't want to rest on our laurels. We want to have this process of self-reflection ingrained in us and carried it on into the future. I'd like to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart. And thank you very much to Albert Recknagel, who got into contact. And also thank you very much to Heike Wagner, who really impressed me, and also to Mr. Villhauer, who was very uncomplicated and competent. And also thank you very much to everyone who's working in the background, that this very international conference is possible. So